people agree, whether they're Leavers or Remainers or whatever their party political affiliations, that the arrangements with Europe that they have existed for some time have worked pretty well, both in our interests as the British and also in European interests. So we're really asking them to get their act together, that's both the European Commission and the British government, and make this more of a priority than it seems to have been up till now.
I don't know whether you agree with me, but it seems to me that from the very beginning that there's been a little bit of a cat and mouse game going on, at the very least on our side, where the first thing we hear is that the EU relies heavily on our security expertise. Then we hear a kind of softer tone in the conversations that we would very much want to continue that cooperation. And then again, it's used apparently as a bargaining chip. Are you any clearer as to whether it really is a bargaining chip?
I'm not. To be absolutely frank with you and your listeners, I'm not. All I know is that this is a really important area because it affects and could affect people's lives and their security. And I think it's time we woke up to the fact that we don't seem, at the moment at least, to be near an agreement on something that surely we can agree about, whether we're Leavers or Remainers. I'm actually quite a Remainer, but there are others on my group who are Leavers.
Well, a lot of people will hear your warning and say this will be just a bunch of Remainers saying we mustn't leave the European Union. Tell me why it's not that. It
really isn't that, because my two co-signatories, as I understand it, although I've never asked them about it, as I understand it, are Leavers. And this is quite regardless of whether you're a Leaver or Remainer. We all feel that the system that exists at the moment as far as security and policing are concerned works not perfectly, but pretty well. And to change it, or find ourselves out of the EU without being any agreement reached, would lead to a kind of crisis, I suppose is not too heavy a word for it, where we would find that we didn't have the agreements that we've had with Europe, and that we didn't get the advantages of intelligence and information from them, and they didn't get the advantages from information and intelligence from us. And that would be a ridiculous position.
Well, it would be more
to be in this dangerous world.
Well, for both sides, it would be more than ridiculous, it seems to me, given that, the statement I made at the beginning, that any government, not just our government, any government's responsibility is the prosperity and security of its citizens. So if either side was to play games over security arrangements, that could be argued to be a dereliction, couldn't it?
I think personally there'd be too many games played anyway over the whole issue, but put that on one side. It doesn't matter what I think. On this issue, you're absolutely right. This is not an area where we should be playing games and negotiating in subtle ways. This is something where sensible people, intelligent people, should come together, as I'm sure they can, because there's really a consensus around this. It's not as though it's a matter of violent disagreement as it is on so much of Brexit. Here there's a consensus. Don't throw away something that has been very valuable for Britain, but also equally valuable for citizens of the EU. So this is not something to play negotiating games about. It's something to sort out.
And if we don't, give me some concrete examples of what you say will be lost.
Well, it's interesting you asked that. I was with my chief constable this morning, meeting people actually at an event, and I said to him, well, what's really going to be the effect of this? And he says the inability to share intelligence and information on really serious offences around people trafficking, around drugs, around serious and organised crime will be faced by this police force in Leicestershire, a medium-sized police force in a growing area, as it will be in the big police forces, of course, like the Met.
Now, people
that's the kind of place where day to day there is great value in the arrangements that exist at the present time.